If you're not following me on social media, you definitely should be. We've got kind of an informal survey going on Instagram and Facebook. What is evil? Does evil exist? If so, what is it? Please go check out my social media pages and contribute to the survey. It's going to be used in an upcoming episode. If you don't have social media and you follow the podcast, you can email me at mosaicinprogress@gmail.com. I'd really love to hear your feedback. This subject has just fascinated me for about a month now, and I'm going to do an episode on it soon. Hi, welcome back to the podcast. I am your host, Naomi, and this is Mosaic in Progress. The world kind of sucks right now. Maybe it always has. Maybe it just goes in waves around the globe, depending on where you're at. But here in America, things are really stressful, scary, unsure. I think everyone is kind of feeling a lot of stress and fear, no matter what side of the aisle they're on or what their politics are or who they support. I think everyone is pretty scared right now. Some more than others and for different reasons. But it's kind of a really scary time in our country. And you can feel it in everyone around you, regardless of their political leanings. You can feel the fear. It's palpable. And so my suggestion to anyone who is feeling afraid is go watch Lord of the Rings. Or whatever movie it is that gives you hope, that makes you feel like, yeah, things can get better. It can be dark for a while, but things can get better. And for me, it's Lord of the Rings, because there's nothing that quite beats Samwise Gamgee looking into poor little Frodo's eyes, who said, "Why are we doing this?" And he said, "Because there's some good in the world, Mr. Frodo, and it's worth fighting for." And I'm getting choked up now just thinking about it. It's things like that that keep us going. Art and fiction serves a purpose more than just entertainment. And it's important to focus on where the good is, to find the good. And not just in fiction. Look around you. Look for the good. Because where your focus is what you attract. Where you focus your energy is what is going to continue to show up in your life. So if you focus on the fear, you're going to find more things to be afraid of. If you focus on the good, you're going to find more good. It's the law of attraction. That's just how life works. You don't have to believe in the law of attraction for it to work, just like you don't have to believe in gravity for it to work, or believe that the earth is round. It just is. So as much as I don't really want to do yet another episode on this subject, I'm going to, because I think it's important. If you've listened to my last episode, you got to hear all about my time in politics and my view of the current situation and the Republican nominee for president. And if you've paid any attention at all to the news or talked to anyone in the last week, you know that there was an assassination attempt on said candidate. There's a lot of speculation about it, a lot of political posturing and philosophizing and theories, and I don't personally find the idea that it was staged to be without merit. However, I worked in politics, and I know that it doesn't matter whether it was staged or it was just an opportunity that was seized upon. That's how politics works. There is a lot of staged things, and I'm not saying every assassination attempt was staged, and I'm not saying this one was. But there are certainly a lot of things that are staged that people don't realize are staged. And there are certainly a lot of things that are allowed to happen that may not go the entire way that people think that it's going to go, but they know that if they allow it to happen, then they can use it. And there is a saying in politics, anyone who has worked in politics knows this: bad press is still press. It doesn't matter if things seem bad, you can spin whatever happened to your advantage. Which undoubtedly is what happened, regardless of whether it was staged or not, whether it was allowed or not. What has happened is it's being spun into him being a martyr. And it has done a really good job of solidifying his base, which has bolstered a lot of fear in those on the left, particularly because of Project 2025. If you don't know what Project 2025 is, Google it. You need to look into it. It's terrifying. And it's interesting to me seeing it now. It's like this very surreal thing. I used to be very involved with the Heritage Foundation. In fact, I applied for one of their unpaid internships when I was very early in college. And I think they may have been one of the ones that selected me. I applied for a lot of internships that were in DC or the DC area, and there was a couple that I got accepted to, but then my parents told me I couldn't go. I think the Heritage Foundation was one of the ones that I got accepted to. And so it's really surreal to see it now on the other side. Just like that they're doing this absolutely characteristic thing of making a plan of how to beat the left. Because you have to understand, they don't think in the same way. And I think this is the biggest problem with left versus right politics. Is the right thinks that the left thinks like they do, and the left thinks that the right thinks like they do, and not in a, we have the same ideas about how things should work. They come from very different places of understanding. And that was so eye-opening for me to come out of deeply entrenched right-wing conservative politics and develop a more liberal ideology and realize that everything that I thought about the left previously was wrong. And being a lot more left-leaning now, realizing that everything that the left thinks about the right is wrong. Now, I'm not saying there aren't exceptions, that there aren't people who absolutely hate everyone, who isn't like them. But, and this is not speaking of people who are in power. This is speaking of your neighbor who's a right-wing conservative, not, the person who got into office. Because they're not like us. Let's just leave it at that. I think if people could sit down and have a conversation with each other, they would realize they're not that much different. Because everyone wants the same thing. Everyone wants to be able to live their life how they want to live their life. They want to be able to pay their bills. They want to be able to take care of their families. They want to be able to take care of themselves when they get older. They want their voice to be heard. And they want justice. Now, there's a lot of different ideas about what justice is and what situations need to be addressed or how to go about accomplishing these goals, but everyone wants the same basic thing. And that is not to say that there are not hateful, mean people on the right, but in my experience, your average person on the right does not have it in their head. And again, not to say there aren't people that don't. They don't have it in their head that we need to control the women and we need to take everyone's rights away and we need to make sure that women can't vote anymore and take away healthcare rights and blah, 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 blah. Everything that the left thinks that the right thinks. No, they don't. Maybe people in power do, probably. I don't know. But your neighbor who has their MAGA flag out front or whatever, they think that their way of life is being taken away from them. And he's the one who can fix that. Just like I have a friend, and she's a wonderful person. She's a very passionate mother and protective of her daughter's rights. And she wasn't being mean to me, but she went off in the comments of a post I made on Facebook, on my personal Facebook, about how, as I made a comment that basically the right wing and the left wing are the same. They're two wings of the same bird. And she said, yeah, but one of them wants to take my daughter's rights away and one actually does good things. I think if people would take a moment and critically look at whatever side that they support, they would realize that they're doing the exact same thing as the side that they don't support, just in different ways, and they're doing a lot better job of promoting what they do to their base in a way that makes it look like they're doing exactly what they think that they want them to do. American politics works by keeping people at odds. That's why we have a two-party system, because it's way easier to manage than multiple parties. If you get multiple parties involved, then people actually look at having a choice and they look at who they really support and who they really align with, rather than going, well, that's the best one we got. This is the lesser of two evils. And that's how it works. That is how it has continued to work for who knows how long at this point. Maybe since the beginning of politics in this country. I don't know. A really, really long time. It has worked to keep people at odds with each other, to go, well, those people over there want to take away our rights and want to take away our money. And the entire thing is just a complete farce. It's a complete show, because if you're fighting with your neighbor because they've got a MAGA flag and you've got a pride flag, then that's perfect for everyone in power, because you're not noticing that the people who fly their MAGA flags at campaign rallies are doing the exact same thing as the people who fly the pride flags at campaign rallies. And all they're doing is keeping power and keeping money and making sure you don't notice that they're the ones who are your enemy by keeping you fighting with your neighbor. That's how American politics works. That's how it's always worked. And people become so passionate and incensed over particularly social issues like abortion and women's rights and homosexuality, whether it's gay marriage or just the right to be able to say that you're gay without, being arrested or kicked out of the military or whatever. Like, they get hung up on these social issues, and politicians use this specifically to keep people impassioned and angry and fighting against their opponent, because they don't really give a fuck what you think or what you believe, as long as you're putting them back in office and giving them your money. So, if this is how it works, if we're conscious of that, if we know that's how it works, so how do we respond to that? Like, what do you do with that? Like, okay, yeah, they're manipulating us, they're using us. This is why I don't watch the news anymore. Because, I can come to conclusions based on what I saw in news stories and the reels and videos that were shown of the assassination attempt, but everything that is shown to me, I know is shown through the lens of whatever they wanted me to see. That's, I mean, it's all manipulation anyway. We're like, oh yeah, there's the full video. Is it the full video? Is it? We don't know. Were you there? If you were there, you can tell us a little better. But if you weren't there, if you're just watching whatever videos have circulated through the internet or on the news or whatever, what you're seeing is what someone wanted you to see. It's the angle they wanted you to see it from. It's the lighting, it's the editing, it's the focus, it's whatever. It's all orchestrated for you to see what they want you to see. So this is kind of your take the red pill moment. Wherever you're at, whatever side of the aisle you're on, whoever you're supporting or not supporting or whatever, this is your take the red pill moment. Are you going to keep being manipulated by the media and manipulated by political candidates? Are you going to continue to allow yourself to be manipulated by the rhetoric that those in power want you to keep believing, that your neighbor across the street who thinks differently than you wishes you were dead? Do you wish your neighbor across the street who thinks differently than you was dead? Maybe you do. I don't know. I don't know your life. I don't know your thoughts. Most likely not. Most people in the world do not want violent eradication of those who are different from them. Most people can get along fairly well with people who are different from them. Maybe they're not going to hang out with them all the time. That's fine. But maybe if we did, things would be a little better. One of the things that's been eye-opening for me as a member of the pipe community is how many in the pipe community are very right-wing. And we get along great most of the time. And even more interesting, those who are in the local pipe club, who I see on a regular basis and hang out with and smoke with, they will be absolutely civil to me to my face, and we can have discussions about hard topics and be civil with each other and either agree to disagree or come to an understanding of each other or whatever. But as soon as they get on social media and interact with me, they are completely different people. This has become a poison in our society, that we have dehumanized people, especially those who think differently from us. I remember in my sociology class, way back years ago when I was like a sophomore in college, and my professor giving us the timeline, the linear progression that stereotyping leads to genocide. And I thought that was the most ridiculous thing I'd heard at the time. And the older I get, the more I realize that he's right. When you look at someone and go, you're one of those people, you've dehumanized them. That's not a person anymore, it's one of them. Whoever them is. Whether they're those left-wing liberals or those Trumpsters or those Scorpios, whatever. I was having a discussion with a friend yesterday. We were going back and forth on Marco Polo, discussing evil, what it is, if it exists and everything. And she brought up an absolutely amazing point, that the reason that we need to practice forgiveness and acceptance of those who hurt us is because there's a Hitler in all of us. And there absolutely is. There's someone who you have decided that you hate so much that anyone who's like them is just one of them, whatever them is. And we all do it. No one's exempt. No one's guilt-free. If you are trying to say that you are not like that, yes, you are. Do some self-reflection. Stop lying to yourself. We all have a Hitler in us, the capacity to be that. And I think the thing that is so scary about the world, about America today, is that we're seeing Hitler come out in people more and more, because as happened in Hitler's day, it is becoming socially acceptable to stereotype and to openly express violent intent toward whoever you're stereotyping. To the point that a political organization has made an entire plan. Again, this is Project 2025. Look it up, from the Heritage Foundation, to diminish those who are different. This is the absolute opposite of what this country was founded on, which is so ironic to me, because I keep hearing this rhetoric over and over again of getting back to what the country was founded on. No, what you're trying to do is English monarchy. These are the principles that the country was founded against, not what they were founded on. They were founded on the principle of being able to disagree, being able to have different ideas. In fact, when this country was founded and when it was started, the vice president was not chosen by the president. It was whoever lost, whoever they were running against. And the idea behind that was so that there would be disagreement, basically. So there would be a balance, not just a balance of power, but a balance of ideas. Okay, well, you're running against this person. Y'all have different ideas about, what the treasury should be like and what this and that and the other. Okay, get along with each other, work together. That was what the country was founded on. The idea that we should be able to disagree and still get along and still work together. And Project 2025 is the opposite of that. It's bringing us back to English monarchy, and it's terrifying. If it's put into place, it will completely change the country as we know it and how it has always been, and not in a good direction. It's something that people need to be paying attention to, and people were starting to pay attention to it, and then an assassination attempt was made, and suddenly we're not talking about it anymore, which is another reason why I tend to side on those who say that it was staged, because it's awfully convenient, as people were starting to pay attention and notice this, that suddenly our attention was distracted elsewhere. Politics is a show. It is a cloak and dagger show. And if you think that things happen coincidentally, you don't understand how it works. Everything that they try to get people paying attention to and riled up about is for a reason, and the reason is always to distract you from what's going on somewhere else. 100% of the time, without fail. And as I said, maybe it wasn't orchestrated, but it was certainly used, and effectively, because I haven't really heard anyone talking about Project 2025 since. So where does it leave us? What do we do? I would challenge anyone who's listening to this, to first of all go look up Project 2025 and read the whole thing. And second of all, over the next weeks, find opportunities to talk to people who you disagree with. Not on the internet. Arguing with people on the internet does nothing. I want you to face-to-face talk to somebody who thinks differently than you, who's supporting the other candidate, who is on the other side of the aisle, whatever, however you want to put it. Someone who's different. I want you to have a face-to-face conversation with them, not an argument, not a debate. Talk to them about what matters to them. Talk to them about what matters to you. Because as we find peace with each other and with our neighbors, those who would have us at odds with each other lose their power. As I said previously, the American political system works by keeping us at odds with each other. There needs to be a huge change in this country, and I don't care whether you're on the right or the left. Everyone agrees with that. We need a huge change in this country, but the change doesn't need to come from someone we put in the White House or in Congress or in the state legislature. It needs to come with us on our streets, talking with each other, and not putting our future in the hands of people who just want to take it from us. It's not about them in Washington or them in the Capitol, state capitol. It's not about the people in the mayor's office or city hall or whoever. It has hit me as I have been driving around town more often with my new job that our legal state in this country is like an abusive parent. When I was raped years ago, I reported it to the police, and the investigator looked me in the eye and said, it'll take at least 2 to 3 women reporting him before he ever sees the inside of a courtroom, but don't worry. If he does and they report it within 7 years, your case can be used as evidence to convict him. If that ain't the most fucking gaslighting I've ever heard of, I don't know what is. Don't worry. You can get justice if he does it again. We don't really believe you, but if somebody else says that they did it, we might believe you. In addition to that, there are highway patrol and sheriff's deputies and city police positioned all over the roads, allegedly to make us safer. But what do? We see them and we freak out. And it's not the people who are tearing down the road at 100 miles an hour or causing accidents or weaving in and out of traffic. It's the people who are like separated from the flow of traffic going 10 miles over the speed limit. The fact that we are terrified to drive in a way that we deem safe if someone else is watching us says everything that you need to know. It's like that abusive parent who, you're listening to music or watching TV or whatever, and they come in and you're like, shit, what if this isn't okay with them? I mean, I think it's okay, and I deem that this is moral or whatever, but if they see it, am I going to be in trouble? It's the same principle. It's the same type of relationship dynamic. If they see me doing this, I might be in trouble. Our country is desperate for radical change, but it's never going to change radically if we keep doing the same thing we've always done, which is to just keep electing people who we think are like us, or kind of like us, or at least the lesser of two evils. Like, we're not going to make change with laws, and we're not going to make change with presidents, and we're not going to make change with judges. We're going to make change with each other. And we can't do that if we keep looking at them as other. Your neighbor is not other. The person who lives in the neighborhood a few miles away that's in a different economic bracket than you are is not other. As long as we see ourselves as separate, we will always have problems. We'll always have conflict. We cannot fix this in this mentality. We have to find peace with each other, peace with our neighbors. It's so interesting to look back on Civil War history and the arguments that were made, and why United We Stand became such a huge talking point about our country. Because as long as we're united, we're good. Talk to any union worker. They'll tell you this. United, we have power. Divided, we fall. This is a divided country. And we're divided because we've chosen to be divided. Because we look at the people across the street and say, they're not like me. I will have nothing to do with them. They think differently than me. They believe differently than me. They have different ideas than me. And we put it on a pedestal of moral rightness. Well, they think I should die. How do you know? Did they tell you that? Or did the media tell you that? You don't know because you won't talk to them. And they think you think all their rights should be taken away. Do you really think that? Maybe do, maybe don't. They don't know because they won't talk to you. We can't change other people, but we can change ourselves and how we show up in the world. And until we are willing to be vulnerable enough to do that, until we are willing to be humble enough to do that, until we are willing to be loving enough to do that, our country will continue in the same way that it has until it kills itself. Because we are too arrogant to love our neighbors. Thank you for joining me again on the podcast. I hope you'll come back for the next episode. As I mentioned in the beginning of the episode, please follow me on social media if you're not already. I'm on Facebook and Instagram as Mosaic in Progress. If you are following me, or if you're not and you're going to be a new follower, please participate in the survey. I want to know, do you think evil exists? If you do, what is it? Don't define it by people. Define it as a concept. I want to know. And please join me next time on the podcast as we both continue to work on our Mosaic in Progress.